My parents said my sons didn't deserve grandparents, so I made sure they never saw them again. When my parents declared they wouldn't watch my children, their words cut deep. "Your kids aren't our responsibility," my mother said coldly. They laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound that echoed in the room. My sister's children, lounging nearby, snickered too, their eyes barely leaving their screens. Within days, my phone was flooded with messages. Growing up, my parents' favoritism was glaring. My sister, Emily, was their pride, showered with affection and praise for the smallest things. I was the afterthought, expected to fend for myself, always second best. Now, as a single mother to my twin boys, nothing had shifted. Raising them alone since my divorce, they've become my everything. But parenting solo is a battle, especially when your own parents treat your children like an inconvenience they never signed up for. I swallowed their slights for years. The subtle jabs, the obvious preference for Emily's kids, the calls that only came when they needed cash. They'd dangle affection, but it was always transactional. Then, 3 weeks ago at a family dinner, the truth became undeniable. I asked if they could take my boys for a weekend. A work trip had come up unexpectedly, nothing big, just 2 days. My sons were in the next room, building a model airplane, quiet and content. Before I could finish explaining, my father snorted. "We're not babysitting your kids." My mother didn't hesitate. "They don't need us like Emily's do," and they laughed together. Emily's kids glanced up, chuckling along. No one stopped them, no one cared. I gathered my boys and left as if the house were suffocating me. I didn't argue. There was nothing to say. That night I lay awake, heart pounding with anger and shame. For the first time, I was done. Emily called the next day. "You're not like them," she said. She's always been my anchor, reminding me I deserved better than our parents' crumbs. She didn't defend them this time, just listened. That's when I made my choice. No more games. I cut them off completely. The streaming accounts they leached, the shared grocery app tied to my card, the bank account they dipped into when bills piled up. I shut it all down, quietly, without a word. They never thanked me. They only remembered me when they needed something. 3 days later, my phone exploded. My mother's texts came first, then my father's. The family group chat, long silent, roared back to life. They demanded, guilt-tripped, called me selfish. "After everything we've done for you," they wrote, not one apology, not one mention of what they'd said about my sons. They didn't ask how the boys were. They just wanted access again, to my accounts, my money, me. It hit me like a slap. Without my resources, I was nothing to them. Emily backed me up, saying I'd done the right thing. But I didn't expect what came next, or how low they'd stoop when they realized they couldn't control me anymore. After I blocked their access, silence followed. No calls, no texts, not even a snide comment in the chat. It was unnerving, but I knew it wouldn't last. My parents don't tolerate being sidelined, especially when money's at stake. Then the holidays arrived. I almost skipped the family gathering, but Emily begged me to come, not wanting to face them alone. For my boys' sake, I went, hoping for a shred of normalcy. The moment we walked in, the air was heavy. My mother ignored my sons. My father flashed a fake smile, the kind he uses when he wants something. Emily met me at the door, her face screaming this was a mistake. Then came the gift exchange. Emily's kids unwrapped designer clothes, new tablets, gift cards galore. My boys. They each got a small, generic candy bar, handed over with my mother's loud comment. "From a generous dad, not their dad." As if I hadn't been their everything for years. My sons stared at the candy, confused, waiting for more. I wanted to storm out, but I stayed for them. Emily's disgust mirrored mine. After that, I told Emily I was done. No more family events, no more pretending. My boys deserved people who saw them, not people who dismissed them. Months later, I had to travel again. Emily was overseas, and with no one else to turn to, I reluctantly asked my parents to watch the boys. They agreed, sounding almost eager. I didn't trust them, but I hoped they'd prove me wrong. When I returned, my sons opened the door. Alone, I assumed my parents had just stepped out. Then the truth spilled out. They'd taken Emily's kids and their friends to a theme park overnight, twice. My boys had been left alone for 2 days. My youngest admitted they'd been told to keep quiet, that I'd make a big deal and ruin everything. I sat in my car for an hour, gripping the steering wheel, unable to process how anyone could abandon 2 young kids like that. When I confronted them, they didn't flinch. My mother said they were done playing nanny. My father called my sons hard to handle compared to Emily's kids. Then the final blow, "We're amazing grandparents, your boys don't deserve us." That was it. I hung up, blocked them, and vowed they'd never see my children again. But it didn't end there. The real shock came later in a way I never saw coming. That night, I couldn't sleep, haunted by images of my boys alone, locking doors, eating cereal from the box, pretending they were fine. I called Emily the next day, my voice shaking with rage. She was livid too and offered to confront them, but I said no. There was no fixing this. A week later, the family chat flared up again. My mother sent a novel-length message, painting themselves as victims, saying I'd overburdened them with childcare and never appreciated their efforts. Then she crossed a line, claiming my sons were aloof and that my parenting was to blame. My father piled on, saying they were better off without my bitterness in their lives. They weren't just favoring Emily's kids, they were attacking mine. I deleted the chat. Extended family started reaching out, asking for both sides. There were no sides. This was about my sons being treated like they didn't matter while their cousins got the world. I laid it all bare to anyone who asked. Most went silent. One cousin said I was too sensitive. I cut her off too. Emily stayed by my side. She welcomed my boys into her home, making them feel loved. She didn't try to mend things with our parents, she just showed up for us. But my parents weren't done. One evening, 2 weeks after I'd blocked them, I found an envelope in my mailbox. A long, handwritten letter from my father. Pages of self-justification, listing every dime they'd ever spent on me. School books, birthday gifts, even a bike from when I was 10 with prices attached. At the end, a warning, "You'll regret this when your boys grow up without grandparents." I burned the letter in my backyard, watching the ashes scatter. I thought that was the end. Then I learned about their next move. Rumors started at my boys' school. One of Emily's kids, probably unaware of the impact, mentioned the family rift. My sons came home asking why their grandparents didn't love them if they'd done something wrong. I told them as gently as I could that family isn't about titles, it's about actions. They nodded, but their eyes held pain I couldn't erase. I thought we'd hit rock bottom. Then my landlord called. Someone had filed an anonymous complaint about my home, claiming it was unfit for my sons, that I was neglectful, unstable. I knew who it was. The accusations twisted personal moments into lies only my parents could have crafted. I laughed bitterly, not because it was funny, but because their desperation was pathetic. Then came the letter from Child Protective Services. An investigation had been opened. I sat with it, stunned for what felt like forever. I'd poured everything into raising my boys, and now I had to prove I wasn't a bad mother. The social worker's visit was humiliating, checking cabinets, asking my sons if they felt safe. My youngest cried when questioned. I'll never forgive them for that. The case was closed, deemed baseless, but the damage lingered. My boys were shaken, their trust rattled. Just as we started healing, Emily called with news that floored me. Our parents had rewritten their wills, leaving everything to her kids. My sons weren't even named. In the notes, they wrote that their legacy should honor him on family principles, duty, honor, loyalty. The irony burned. Emily refused any part of the inheritance, furious on my behalf. She told them she'd cut them off too if they ever approached my sons again. I thought that was their final act. Then I found a photo taped to my door, a grainy shot of my boys at a school event taken from afar. No note, just the image. I stood outside that night, heart racing, clutching a flashlight, searching the shadows. This wasn't just cruelty, it was menacing. I didn't know if it was them or someone they'd sent, but it felt like a warning. That was my breaking point. I wasn't going to hide anymore. I compiled everything, texts, emails, voicemails, the CPS report, the will. I wrote one line, "Is this who you think they are?" Then I sent it anonymously to their church, their social club, their neighborhood association. I didn't want revenge. I wanted their mask off. Emily called days later, begging me to stop. Our parents were unraveling. My mother collapsed when confronted by her pastor. My father threatened lawsuits. Their carefully curated image was in tatters. Emily said they were humiliated, broken, but I wasn't done. This was about ensuring they'd never come near us again. Then my car was vandalized. The word traitor scratched into the hood. I left it for 2 days, letting it sit like a trophy. They thought I'd crumble. Instead, I had the car repainted, erasing their mark. Then I erased them. New phone, new email, their names removed from every emergency contact list. I hired a lawyer to make Emily the boys' legal guardian if anything happened to me. No chance for my parents to ever interfere. A month later, a typed letter arrived. No apology, just excuses. Things got out of hand, you always let things slide before. That was their truth, they'd banked on my forgiveness. I locked the letter away, not to cherish, but to remember. Time passed. Their world began to shrink. Friends, neighbors, their church community started asking questions. Emily said they stopped showing up to events uninvited and isolated. Their shame was their punishment. My boys, they're thriving. They don't talk about their grandparents anymore. They're starting to forget, and I'm okay with that. We're building a life free of guilt, obligation, or control. Just us, just love. That's the real ending. Not revenge, not a fight, but peace. They're gone, left behind where they belong. If this story touched you, please like, share, and subscribe for more real-life stories that hit the heart. Your support keeps these stories coming. Thank you for reading, and I'll see you in the next one.